Hi, my name is Petra, and I created this screencast to walk you through our updated daily report. If the reason why you're reading this report is to simply see our current exposure, it's displayed right on top together with the date this report was published. This report is forward-looking and is published right at the market close, which means that this 96% exposure actually refers to our S&P 500 exposure on the next trading day, the 23rd. If this is the first time you came across Hold Tactical, I would recommend reading the strategy summary section. This explains our methodology in broad terms and links to two of our existing research papers. If you see any terms you don't understand, don't worry, there's a glossary section at the end of this report. If you are curious to find out a little more and want to understand how we arrived at the 96%, the signal decomposition section is a great place to start. Top line shows our current exposure of 96%, but it also shows the possible range of the signals. As you see, it can range from minus 100 to plus 200%, which means that even though 96% may sound quite high, it is by no means an extremely bullish view of the market. The rest of the bar chart, together with the table below, shows the contribution of individual models to our overall exposure. You can see the signal of the 6-month model, the 1-month model, and the sum of the signals of all our short-term models. Right now, we do not go into detail about the short-term models, but we will expand this report as we publish more of our research. One thing you probably noticed is that these weights do not add up to 100%. The reason is that our strategies can share risk and have relatively low correlations, which allows us to use the capital more efficiently. Also, we target 80% of long-term S&P 500 volatility, which also determines the scaling factor of these weights. All in all, the executive summary shows our current exposure and how we arrived at this number from our individual models. If you would like to hear more about our individual models, you can continue onto the model report sections. Pages 2 and 3 talk about a 6-month model. The model description section tells us that we consider 10 variables in the model and select a subset of these variables using a method called correlation screening. The table on the bottom of page 2 tells us exactly which variables have been selected in the most recent model refit and how they contribute to our 6-month equity risk premium forecast. We show the regression coefficients as well as the standardized values of these variables. Standardized means that we try to put them on the same scale so that you can compare the magnitude and the direction of deviation of all these variables from their means. The intercept variable has an economic interpretation and could be interpreted as the moving average of the 6-month equity risk premium. So our final forecast is 2.66%, and because this is just below the long-term average value of the ERB, our target allocation will fall slightly below plus 100%. The plot above the table shows you exactly how we translate signals into positions. Our possible forecast values are on the x-axis, and the corresponding allocations are on the y-axis. The model conclusion section recaps all the model findings as well. Pages 4 and 5 describe the 1-month model. Similarly to the 6-month model, we start with a larger number of predictors and select a subset to help us forecast the next month equity risk premium. Following the format of the 6-month model, the table below shows coefficients, standardized values, and forecast contributions of each active variable. The model description and our 1-month model research paper both describe how we translate our forecast into an exposure. And again, the model conclusion paragraph summarizes these findings in simple terms. The rest of the report contains the glossary and some disclosures. As I mentioned, we will continue to expand this report to include more models in the futures. So stay tuned and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you for your attention.